She gets hungry for dinner at 8. She loves the theater and never comes late. She never bothers with people she hates. That's why the lady is a tramp.
Hello, my friends. This is Double T, welcoming everybody into the Double T Podcast Network, wishing everybody a happy Sunday. Folks, today I've just got a lot of political junk on my mind, and I just want to talk about it and kind of get your feelings on where we are as a nation with the impending election coming up in November. We have two candidates, and it appears that nobody likes the choices. On one side, we have an incumbent president who is obviously in a state of mental decline. And I don't know if you see the little tricks that they do for him. They've got him special shoes so he can walk without falling on the grass, walking to Marine One. Now, the president used to walk by himself to Marine One. Now they've got a barrage of people kind of making a wall around him so you don't see the difficulties that he has walking. He rambles on incoherently sometimes in the middle of a press conference or a speech. Talks about things that have never happened. Talks about, like, his uncle Bozie was in the Army Air Corps as before there was an Air Force, and that he was flying recon missions over New Guinea and was shot down. And there were a lot of cannibals in New Guinea at the time. And, well, you kind of know what happened to Uncle Bozie. There weren't cannibals in New Guinea at that time. And it was reported that Uncle Bozie, who was actually the nickname for his Uncle Finnegan, was in the Army Air Corps, and his plane was shot down. He was not flying it, but it was shot down over the ocean, and he was lost at sea. He talks about joining the NAACP when he was 13 years old, and how for decades he was very active in the civil rights movement. However, he did join the NAACP, but not until his first political campaign is when he did that. He made reference to, in a Howard Stern interview, how in Linfield, where they were living in Delaware, they were desegregating housing, and they built 70 new houses, a development right near his place. And a black family bought one of the houses, and there was kind of a mob scene in front of the house because it was still in a racist mentality. You know, Joe took a walk down there and proudly stood on the porch with the black family, told the story of how he got arrested. Where what the real story was, he did go down there and stand on the porch, but the cops just brought him home because they were firebombing the house. So Joe likes, as any old man likes to do, embellish stories and tell tall tales, and the one thing that caught me this week was walking out of a presser. One reporter shouted a last question to him and asked him how he felt that Donald Trump was now a political prisoner. a convicted felon. Biden didn't say a word, but he turned around to his right, looked directly at the reporters in the press corps, and gave one of the most evil smiles I ever saw in my life. So, I mean, this guy's not completely gone, you know? And when he gave the State of the Union address, one of the reasons why Trump called for a drug test before the debate is they think they're juicing him up, giving him whatever vitamin B12 or something that to give him some energy and to make him kind of come alive a little bit. Because that State of the Union address looked like Joe Biden 4 or 5 years ago. It didn't look like Joe Biden today. Okay. We all know Joe's an empty suit. We all know Joe is not calling the shots. My personal opinion, I think Obama and that gang are behind the scenes pulling all the strings. That's just my guess, but, who knows? I think his wife should be ashamed of herself because she's pushing him to run. And in my opinion, that's elder abuse. That's not it's not good for Joe to be running again for another term at his age and at his capacity. I mean, let the guy go back to Delaware and enjoy the rest of his life. I mean, listen, I am not a Joe Biden fan. I never have been. I thought he was an awful senator. I couldn't stand that crime bill when they passed it. He is a confirmed racist. Even when they had him on tape when somebody asked him about Obama before Obama chose him to be his vice president. He says, he's perfect. He's articulate. He's clean. He's not like the 7-Eleven store where you have to learn how to speak Indian to go in there. I mean, Joe's a racist. There's no doubt about it. And now you have another choice, and you have another former president, Donald Trump, who, Donald Trump's core, his base, loves him, no matter what. He can get convicted of all 94 felonies, and they're still going to vote for him. There are some people that won't. And I've got to be honest here. This isn't a pro-Trump speech, but a while back I did a podcast on the 4 trials of Trump. And let's look at them really quickly again and where they stand. Okay? All right. The New York case, he got convicted on all 34 counts. All of a sudden, on the 7th, something popped up, which was a post on the official court Facebook page saying something to the effect of Donald Trump is going to be getting convicted tomorrow. I know because my cousin's on the jury and she told me. That came out the day before the verdict was read. Now, Judge Marchand had to send, when he discovered this, had to send letters to the prosecution and the defense to let them know that this post occurred and happened. It's been taken off. Another post was made by this guy, and he said he was a shit poster. And what a shit poster is a person that posts phony things to get reactions out of people and to aggravate people. But still, that first post was there, and they have to figure out if there's any merit to it. So the sentencing, which is scheduled for July 11th, 4 days before the Republican National Convention. Wouldn't you love to throw this guy in jail before the RNC? Okay? The defense in this case, Helena Ava, they are going to investigate the living hell out of this allegation, and it's not going to take them 2 days to do it. It's going to take months. So, take this New York case and the worry of Donald Trump being thrown in jail before the convention off the table. Not going to happen. The case down in Georgia is all on hold because now they're having another appeal. They're hearing another argument to throw Cash Money Fannie Willis and her whole department off the case. Case is crumbling. There's no doubt about the fact that she misused her office's funds and she misused federal funds that were given for other things. I mean, she's almost as brilliant as Tiffany Henyard, except she had deeper pockets to go in. So, for now, New York is on hold. Georgia, on hold. Now you have the documents case with Jack Smith. Where it's alleged that Jack Smith staged the crime scene, where he moved documents around and put confidential covers on things that weren't confidential to make it look worse than what it was. Okay, Jack, that case is crumbling to pieces. Okay? The January 6th case. Now, let me ask you, what have you heard about the January 6th case since that failed bullshit trial was on TV? Nothing. Because they proved nothing. You can't make a rational human being believe that there wasn't any type of coordination with somebody to make these all fall during the election season, the campaign season. You can't convince anybody with a half a brain. Listen, I'm not telling you Donald Trump is an altar boy. He's not. And the E.G. Carroll case, I think, is going to get overturned. So, do we have a two-tier system of justice in our country? I mean, can Trump get away with, or can Trump not get away with things that Biden can? I mean, it's alleged that Joe's taken money from China, Ukraine, big money. I mean, Jim Jordan's subpoenaing everybody to testify before Congress. I mean, they'll get to the bottom of it. I mean, they've got the bank records, they have everything. I mean, listen, you remember from the 2016 campaign when they kept saying, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up? Did Trump lock her up? No, he did not. Because Trump had the sense to know that that would hurt our nation, not help heal it. Even though she did all that stuff wrong. Talking about Hillary. Trump declined to prosecute her. I'll tell you what. If Trump wins this election, I think he's going to prosecute everybody. Because that's how you're going to drain the swamp. And the thing I like about one of the promises that Trump made, one thing you can say about Trump is when he made campaign promises, he kept them. And he said that he will release the JFK files and he will release the Epstein files. And there was one more, and it slips my mind at the moment, but he says, make them all public. Because once that Epstein stuff comes out, man, you're going to see some big names fall. And you know something? It's time. It's time that these ignorant billionaires get held accountable for what they did. You know how many victims there were involved with Epstein? There's countless victims. You have a choice to make. And let's go. There's a third candidate, RFK Jr. Now, I like RFK, but his problem is going to kill him on his stance on vaccines. But he's going to hurt the Democrats. He's going to hurt the Democrats more than he's going to hurt the Republicans. Once again, it's going to come down to the independent voters. And you have two choices. You have two choices to make in this election. Unfortunately, this time you have the luxury of having two records to compare. Because Trump served for 4 years and has an established record. You saw what he did in office. Biden has a record, an established record. You saw what he did in office. So beg yourself the question that Ronald Reagan asked. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? I'm paying $2 a gallon more for gasoline. I'm paying about 40% more for groceries. Taxes are higher. Everything costs more money. And we're making less. All right? And the food companies think that they're fooling you. You go to buy a half a gallon of orange juice, it's not 64 ounces, it's 53. Pretty soon, a dozen eggs is going to be 10. A 1 pound can of coffee is now 13 ounces. Even Joe Biden said a Snickers bar is smaller. He must have saw the Halloween ones that they were passing out at the White House, but you never know. So, when Trump was in office, there were no wars. And he calmed some of the flames. We had the Abraham Accords in Israel. He quieted down North Korea. Russia didn't have their pipeline. He shut that down. The border was fairly secured, almost finished. The rest of the stuff to finish the 200 miles, it was like all this special fabricated steel. It was special steel. All right. It was laying there on the ground, ready to be put up when Trump left office. Biden sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. And in 3.5 years, we've had close to 10 million people come into this country. It's gotten to a point that it's affecting our school children. There was a school in New York, a grade school, that went to remote learning because they took over the school for the immigrants to live in. And these townspeople are still paying taxes for their children's education. They've taken away recreational parks so they can have tent cities for immigrants. You don't know who they're letting into the country. I don't know about you, but I'm not happy with that. But you have a choice to make. Now, I'm hearing stories that they might be looking to get Biden off the ticket at the convention. I'm hearing Michelle Obama, because they're going to dump Kamala. I mean, they have to. And the left is going to go nuts if they take a woman of color off the ticket. So the only way to fix that is to put a woman of color on the ticket. And I'm hearing Michelle Obama. I don't think Michelle Obama, first of all, hasn't had a job in her life. All right. She's always been on the public dime. And she's a spoiled little rich kid that's got 2 oceanfront houses, and I don't think has the mental capacity to be president of the United States. Because if she is, her husband's going to be calling the shots again. And look where we are. Now, I do understand that Trump has a 3-name short list that he is considering for vice president. I'm hearing Doug Burgum, governor of North Dakota, Marco Rubio, Florida senator, and J.D. Vance, Ohio senator. Now, there's a few more names on the list, but they are really vetting these 3. I've heard Tom Cotton, Arkansas Senator, Tim Scott, South Carolina Senator, Elise Stefanik, New York Congresswoman, Byron Donald, Florida Congressman, and Ben Carson, former HUD Secretary. That's the long list, but the top 3 are Bergen, Rubio, and Vance. Those are the ones that I hear are really being vetted and vetted hard. So let's see what happens. Hey, folks, it's a lot of political minutia, but we've only got a few more months of it, and I'll keep you posted. Don't forget, coming up on June 20th, I am going to be live at These Guys Brewing Company, 78 Franklin Street, Norwich, Connecticut. Come on down, say hi to Double T and the crew from These Guys. We might walk away with a nice prize, and we'll be doing live podcasts from 5 to 7 p.m. And remember, tomorrow is granted to nobody. So if you have time to stop and smell the roses, please do so. And if you have the opportunity to do a random act of kindness for anybody, please take that opportunity. For if you do that random act of kindness, this world will be a much better place to live. Until we meet again, this is Double T saying ciao. My friends, let me tell you about a very special place that I was referred to called These Guys Brewing Company, located at 78 Franklin Street in Norwich, Connecticut. Founded in 2015 by two of the most gracious hosts I have ever encountered in the restaurant business, Ray and Rebecca Alberts, alongside General Manager Carly St. Martin, takes every necessary step to make sure that your experience at These Guys Brewing is always an exceptional one. They are an independent brew pub with a selection of handcrafted beers to satisfy all. As a matter of fact, they are currently finishing construction on a larger brewery to handle the demand. Located close to the center of Norwich, only 10 minutes from the casinos, their menu is spectacular, and they also have nightly themes such as Burger and Brew Tuesdays, Trivia Wednesdays, and Buckashuck Thursdays. They also offer brunch on Sundays from 10:30 to 1, and every fourth Thursday of the month offers a special pairing dinner. I will be doing a live podcast from These Guys Brewing Company on June 20th. That's a Thursday night from 5 to 7 p.m. Why don't you come down and say hello to Ray, Rebecca, and Carly and your old pal, Double T? You can walk away with a nice door prize courtesy of These Guys Brewing. So remember, the live podcast is on June 20th, but that doesn't mean you have to wait. Go down to These Guys Brewing, located at 78 Franklin Street in Norwich, Connecticut. Folks, trust me, this is a place that you want to be.
Memories pressed between the pages of my mind. Memories sweeten through the ages just like wine. Quiet thoughts come floating down and settle softly to the ground like golden autumn leaves around my feet. I touch them and they burst apart with sweet memories. Sweet memories of holding hands and red bouquets and twilights trimmed in purple haze, laughing eyes and simple ways, quiet nights and gentle days with you.